Now, I'm not saying don't do anything else, but even if you didn't, you would still retire a millionaire. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can become a tax-free millionaire with just £10 a day. Now, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme by any means, but it works. So hopefully, once you guys watch the whole video, you'll understand how you can do it. This is just another one of those things we aren't taught in school. And the craziest thing is, the earlier we start, the better it is. You'll see why later on in this video, but as I mentioned, and you can probably tell by the title, we'll be going over how we can set up a stocks and shares ISA. So ISA in the name just stands for individual savings account. So you can literally think of it as just another savings account. But I did mention that there are a lot of tax advantages that comes with it. Now, there are actually 4 different types of ISAs, but when it comes to investing, the stocks and shares ISA is the perfect one. Just a quick heads up, you do need to be over 18 to open up one of these accounts, but don't worry if you're under 18. If you are younger, you can still do this through a junior ISA, so you just need to ask your parents. Now, you can actually open up one stocks and shares ISA and contribute up to £20,000 per year. If you have other ISAs like a cash ISA or a lifetime ISA, and you have money in those accounts, then it takes it away from that whole £20,000 figure. Let's just use a quick example so that doesn't confuse anyone. So if you put £4,000 into your lifetime ISA for the year, then you'll have £16,000 left over to put into any other ISA. Hopefully that makes things a bit clearer, but moving on, let's talk about why it's such a big advantage to use a stocks and shares ISA. And personally, the best thing about this account is that any money that grows within it is completely tax-free. So say you put £10,000 in an account and you invested it and grew it to £30,000, you wouldn't have to pay any tax on it. But if you did that outside of stocks and shares ISA, you might have to pay capital gains tax on the profits. The capital gains tax allowance for this year is £12,300, so anything over that, any profits you make would be taxed. Like, no one really wants to pay taxes on their gains, so that's what a stocks and shares ISA lets you do. It's usually used for long-term investments, like around the time you retire. You don't have to wait till then, but the longer you keep it in there, the better it is. And by the time you retire, you're gonna have a lot of money in there, like a lot. And it's gonna be completely tax-free. So if you just put in £300 a month into your stocks and shares ISA when you're 18 and average an 8% return, by the time you're 60, you'll have over £1 million completely tax-free. That's just with £75 a week. If you have enough money to put in the full amount every year, which is £20,000 a year, again with the same situation, so starting at 18 with an 8% return on average, when you're 60 years old, you'll have over £6 million, again, completely tax-free. So that's just crazy to me. And you can withdraw the money at any time and you won't have to pay any taxes or any fees. But just remember, if you put in £10,000 for that tax year and you take it out, you will only have £10,000 left to put in again. So the £20,000 limit doesn't just reset if you take it out. You only have £10,000 left to put in. So you don't really need to worry about taking money out of the account, because if an emergency came up or something else came up, you'd be able to take the money out easily. If you're wondering when the best time is to open one of these accounts, it's now, because even just 1 year can make such a huge difference, and that's because of compound interest. If anyone has heard or is familiar with the doubling penny, then this will make sense to you. Essentially, the longer your money is in there, the more time it has to grow. And after 1 year, because it's grown, the next time it grows, it'll grow even quicker. So basically, now your money is making more money. I'm going to show you as well, just so it's clear, because if you put £1,000 into a stocks and shares ISA at 18 and invested it, and you got an 8% return on average on your investments, by the time you're 60, you'll have £25,339. But let's just say you did this 1 year later, so when you're 19. £1,000 when you're 60 will only be worth £23,462. And that's only a 1 year difference. I personally think this is a lot better to do when you're younger, because most likely you'll be earning in the lower tax brackets. And that just means you'll have more money left over to invest after you've paid your taxes. So now that you know how this works, let's actually get into how you can get one set up. You can actually open up a stocks and shares ISA with platforms like Vanguard, Fidelity, and Hargreaves Lansdown. These are just a few, but there are tons of places where you can open one up. I personally have one with Trading 212 right now, because that's just where I opened up my stocks and shares ISA when I initially started, but I'm looking to get that moved over to Vanguard sometime soon. The platforms I mentioned also offer junior ISAs for those of you who are under 18, so just get your parents to set one up for you and you can get started too. The whole setup process doesn't take long, and you can probably do it within 15 to 20 minutes all online. So once you open the account up, then you can start choosing the investments. Or if you already know what you're investing into, then you can just go and find it on the platform and just set up your monthly payments for that. I know some people might get the wrong idea that you just open one up and then that's it. But remember, the stocks and shares ISA is just an account and it gives you tax advantages. It doesn't actually grow the money for you. That's where the investments come in. In terms of what investments to make, I personally just invest into the S&P 500 index fund ETF. This just tracks the top 500 companies in the US, and it's averaged an 8% return over the last 50 years. That's taking inflation into consideration as well. This is not to say that it goes up all the time, but on average, it's about 8%. There might be some years where it's actually down and some years that it's really high, but it averages around to 8%. You can actually invest into individual companies as well with the stocks and shares ISA. So if you were looking to invest into companies like Tesla, Facebook, Google, you can do that too. And with individual stocks, you might even be able to get more than an 8% return. If you're wondering about dividend paying stocks, you can also invest into them through your stocks and shares ISA. And another great thing about it is that dividends paid are also tax free. So if you're getting paid more than the dividend allowance, which is £2,000 for this tax year, then you won't have to pay any taxes on that too. That's pretty much it to get started with your stocks and shares ISA. But just remember to keep these things in mind. You can only put up to £20,000 per tax year across your ISAs. So you can put that whole £20,000 just into the stocks and shares ISA, or you can split it across your different ones like your lifetime or cash ISAs. And if you already invested into that £20,000 allowance and you take it out, remember the allowance doesn't reset. Finally, you do need to be over 18, but if you aren't, then a junior ISA is a great option for you too. So if you just start doing this consistently now, and using the example we used earlier, starting at 18, you will literally earn over 980k just from interest. You would have only contributed about 150k, and I don't know if I forgot to mention, but it's completely tax-free. Even if you didn't do anything else, I'd say you'd have a pretty comfortable retirement. Now, I'm not saying don't do anything else, but even if you didn't, you would still retire a millionaire. I only started investing into this about a year ago, and I wish I knew about it and started it earlier, but I'm glad I found out about it, and it's crazy what you can do with the account. So I hope this video earned a like, and please make sure you subscribe and share this to anyone who you might think it'll be useful to. Until next time, thank you for watching.